This will be the final video I make in 2021. I started the year off making videos for Rundown 4, and here I am ending the year off with Rundown 6 videos. This year has been an amazing journey for me, and it's all thanks to you guys. There were ups, there were downs, and there was quite a bit of weird stuff in the middle. But overall, this year is one that I will not forget. So, thank you to everyone who's been watching my content and enjoying what I do. Whether you've been here for the entire year or someone who just recently discovered me, you have both amazed me and humbled me. So, let's end the year off strong with one last level guide before we move over to 2022 and see what that year has in store for us. Starting off as always, let's go over the recommended loadout. So far in this rundown, we've been using mines and seafoam to deal with pretty much every single challenge we come across, so how about we change it up a little bit and show just how powerful sentries can be given the proper circumstances. So in this level, I recommend you bring with you a bio tracker, an auto sentry, a burst sentry, and a sniper sentry. The bio tracker is a classic staple. I love to take this into any level that I play. It'll help out here with the air alarm portion of the level, the segment where you have 5 scouts I have to deal with, as well as a few other moments here and there where your sight might be hindered a little bit. As for the auto, burst, and sniper sentry combo, this is going to make every single alarm in this level an absolute joke, assuming your setup is correct and you know how to position your sentries. We're going to be leaving a lot of doors open during these alarms, that way enemies, no matter where they spawn, will funnel down the same route, and then down that route we're going to have all 3 sentries positioned, that way they just shred through enemies. If everything is positioned properly, these 3 sentries will deal with about 90% of the enemies that spawn in during the alarms, and you only have to shoot the last 10% that remains. And there's plenty of tool refill in this level, so even if you use all 3 of these during every single alarm, you will have plenty of ammunition in them all the way up to the very end, which is good because the ending portion of this level is what people consider the hardest part about C1, and triple sentries make that part a cakewalk. If you want to change this loadout a little bit, you definitely can. I have swapped that sniper sentry out for a second burst sentry and it works just as effectively. I have also swapped that sniper sentry out for a mine deployer, and that also works beautifully for this level. If you're somebody who's struggling a bit with the air alarm portion, or maybe you're the type of person who likes to pull a room with a lot of enemies and shut a door and mine it, bring the mine deployer instead of the sniper sentry. It will help out quite a bit, and it's always a good fallback tool just in case something goes wrong. But no matter what combination you take, just make sure you have an auto and a burst sentry, because these two are going to be the hardest working tools of any that you bring into this level with you. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to find and collect 3 data cubes, and these data cubes will always be located inside the same zones, Zone 147, 151, and 153. You start off inside Zone 143 itself, and there's not really anything too special about this one. There will be enemies, resources, there are going to be a lot of doors in this zone, almost every single one of them being very crucial for the upcoming alarm, so make sure they don't get broken down prematurely. And you'll be able to find 2 more security doors, one to Zone 144 and one to Zone 148. The security door to 148 though is currently under lockdown, and you cannot access this door until you get the data cube from 147. So we're going to be heading to the east to Zone 144. However, this security door has a Class 4 cluster alarm tied to it, so let's look at a map overlay first. As you can see, enemies can spawn in 2 different locations, and we have a few doors that we're going to be leaving open. These 2 doors right here will always be left open, and this one right here will be left open or shut depending on what loadout you have. If you're going triple sentry, leave it open. If you have a mine deployer, shut it and then place a mine on it. That way when enemies break it down, most of them get killed by that mine. The reason we're leaving it open if we don't have the mine deployer though is because we want enemies to come in sort of like a stream and not like a waterfall, because they all get piled up on one door. Every other door in this zone we're going to be keeping shut, that way they don't go that way, and this will make it so every single enemy during the alarm will come down the staircase that you can see in the background footage. And this is where we're going to set up our sentries. Auto and burst will be towards the bottom of the stairs facing towards it, that way as enemies come down they get shot by the sentries. And then if you have a sniper sentry, place it a bit further away. You kind of place it further in the back of the room, that way it shoots enemies as they get past the staircase. Or you can place it near you, near the security door, that way it shoots enemies as they're still coming down it. It's up to you. We're just placing the sniper sentry a bit further away due to the fact that it takes longer to target enemies and actually start shooting, so we don't want to place it right next to the auto and burst sentry. Once all of your setup is good to go, activate the alarm, do the scans, kill the few enemies that do make it through, and once everything is finished, pick up your sentries and you can head into Zone 144. Zone 144 has a fair amount of enemies and it's a pretty small room, so be cautious of this, especially if you're somebody who's still learning how to stealth kill enemies effectively. There will be a fair amount of resources in here, and at the back of the room you'll find a security door that takes you to Zone 145. However, this security door has an error alarm tied to it. This error alarm will spawn in 4 enemies every 40 seconds, and these enemies can consist of regular strikers and sometimes even hybrids. It's completely random what the combination will be. You'll probably get 4 regular strikers most of the time, sometimes you get 3 strikers and 1 hybrid, and rarely you might get 2 strikers and 2 hybrids coming in. Depending on the loadout you brought with you, you can handle this a few different ways. Ultimately, you want to get to Zone 146 because in there's a terminal you can use to shut off this error alarm. However, to get to 146, you need a key card that's always inside Zone 145 somewhere. So if you brought a mine deployer with you, all 4 of you can rush ahead, clear out rooms, look at boxes and lockers, try to find the key card, and every time you go through a new door, shut it behind you and place a mine on it. That way the mine will deal with most of the enemies that come from the error alarm. If you're bringing triple sentry though and you do not have mines, split up into 2 teams of 2. Your 2 aggressors are going to move forward, clear out rooms, and check boxes and lockers, and once they're done checking that room, they move into the next one. The defenders will stay close behind the aggressors, however, their focus is dealing with the enemies coming from the error alarm waves, so usually whoever has the bio tracker should stay behind to defend. You 2 focus on the 4 enemies, kill them, make sure that hybrid isn't lighting up your teammates like crazy, and then once they're dead, you can help your teammates and keep pushing forward a little bit until you hear the next wave spawn behind you. Then go back a little bit, deal with the error alarm wave, and you just keep on going. Once you find the key card, go to the far eastern side of 145. There you will find security door 146. You put the key card in. It's just a full team scan afterwards. And when you finish a full team scan, head into 146. The terminal will be to the right of you, about halfway through the room down the staircase. Get on that, deactivate the alarms using the command, and once the alarm is shut off, no more enemies will spawn in. You only have to deal with the ones that are still alive. Once you hear the battle music go away, you know everything is dead, and you can take a little bit of time to go back through 145 as well as 146 and look for any resources you might have run past. Once you have all your resources and you are good to go, you can head to the security door to Zone 147, which is just another full team scan. Finish the scan, head on in, and in there you will find some artifacts as well as the first data cube that you need. However, be careful because once you pick up this data cube, you are going to be teleported out into a desert arena. Here you have one simple goal: to survive. You will be stuck here for a few moments, I don't know the exact length of time, but once that time passes, you will be teleported back out to Zone 147. However, during this time you are stuck here, waves of flyers are going to be spawning in and coming after you. You're not here too terribly long in this first instance, so you have 2 main ways you can deal with this. You can either group up and just shoot the flyers as they spawn in and get rid of them, or if you want to, you could preserve ammunition and just run around a little bit and try to get some cover and hide from the flyers and just keep repositioning as they get closer to you. You're not here for too terribly long, so you don't have to worry about a bunch of flyers piling up because you're not killing them off, but even then, maybe shooting them down here and there would be helpful. It's up to you and your team, and it depends if you want to preserve the ammunition or if you feel like you have enough and you can just shoot everything that spawns in. Once the timer is up, you will be teleported out, you're back in 147, and then you'll notice that the security door to Zone 148 has been unlocked. A message will appear on your screen. So collect any resources that are still here that you haven't picked up yet, and head all the way back to Zone 143 and go to the security door Zone 148. This security door is just a checkpoint scan, so once you finish it, you can head right on in. Zone 148 itself doesn't really have anything too special in it. There are 2 more security doors you could go to, one to Zone 149 and one to Zone 152. However, the security door to 152 is under lockdown and you won't be able to open it until you get the second data cube from Zone 151. So we're going to head to Zone 149, that way we can make our way towards that data cube. The security door to 149 though has a class 5 alarm tied to it, so let's look at a map overlay. As you can see, there's only 2 different rooms that enemies can spawn in, and there are a few doors that they could go through. These 2 doors right here, we're going to leave these open unless if we have a mine deployer. If you have a mine deployer, or maybe you find explosive mines in the map, you can leave those shut and place a mine on it, that way it will deal with all the enemies who pile up on it. But this door right here should always be left open because this is our funnel door. This is where we want enemies to come through. As for our sentry position, as you can see in the background footage, we're going to have the burst sentry outside of the door facing inwards, and the auto sentry inside the room facing outwards. So auto sentry will be shooting them from the front, burst will be shooting from the back. Although I can already hear some of you thinking, but wait a second, Scalar, sentries don't do bonus damage to enemies from behind. Why are you specifying we do it like this? Well, simply put, I don't like it when sentries are shooting at the same enemies. If you have both sentries right next to each other on the inside of the room, there's a good chance they're just going to shoot at the same enemies, and that's not really as effective as if you would have them shoot at different enemies. So doing it this way, auto takes care of the enemies in the front, while burst deals with the enemies from behind. As for your sniper sentry, it'll be in the room with you, sort of around this point right here, facing towards the top of the ladder. This sniper sentry isn't really going to do too much work during this alarm. This is more so to deal with the annoying shooters who might make it past, because if the shooters make it past the first two sentries, they just sit at the top of the ladder and they don't come down. They'll just shoot at you from above, which can be a little bit annoying since you want to focus on the scans, not looking up there and trying to hit a shooter who's going back and forth. So this sniper sentry will deal with any annoying shooters who try to have the high ground on you. Once everything is positioned, you're good to go. Activate the alarm, finish the scans. Once everything is done, pick up the sentries and bring them with you, and you can head into Zone 149. Zone 149 is going to have a lot of giant strikers and shooters inside of it, and I recommend you stealth your way through. You don't have to kill any of these enemies whatsoever. There's no alarm door that might pull them in if you don't deal with them. So just stealth your way through to get to the back end of it. There are some resources along the way, as well as a lot of C-foam grenades you can grab, so I do recommend you bring those with you, as they can help you out for what's coming next inside Zone 150. When you get into the second small room of 149, I do recommend you shut the door behind you though, and deal with all the giants that are in that small room. Usually there's about 3 or 4 of them. The reason for this is because the next zone, Zone 150, is going to have multiple scouts in it, and if you wake those scouts up, you don't want these giants also coming in and attacking you, so best to just deal with them in a small room while you can. Once you have finished that, you can activate the security door to 150. This is just a full team scan, and once you finish it, you can head right on in. Like I mentioned earlier, inside Zone 150, there will always be 5 scouts that you're going to have to deal with. If you are bad at dealing with scouts stealthily and you're not very comfortable trying to melee kill them, take advantage of the large amount of C-foam grenades you can get from 149, that we just C-foam a scout and then kill it. Or if you're comfortable or maybe you have a spear, just go to town on them, deal with every single scout one by one, and once they're all dead, you can go throughout the room, collect resources, and then head to the back end of it where you'll find a security door to 151. This security door is just going to say it has a basic security scan on it, but it's actually going to be a class 2 stealth scan. If you don't know what this is, don't worry, it's nothing too major. It's basically like an alarm door, but no enemy spawn in. Instead of doing small red scans, you have to do small light green ones. They go by fairly quickly, and again, no enemy spawn in. It's just a little bit of extra work, in case some people try to stealth their way through the zone and didn't actually try to deal with the scouts. But once you finish all the scans, you unlock the security door and you can head into Zone 151, where you will find more artifacts as well as your second data cube. Just like the first data cube though, when you pick this one up, you are going to be teleported back to that flyer arena. Although this time you're going to be there for much longer than you were the first time. So if your strategy last time was just to run and stall at the timer until you get teleported back, I recommend you don't do the same thing here. You're going to be here for a little while and there are going to be a lot of flyers, and if you don't deal with them, they are going to pile up quickly and they will overwhelm you. So find a corner, all 4 of you group up, just try to get to a place where enemies only can come from in front of you, that way you're not getting flanked from behind, and deal with the flyers best you can. If things get a little bit dicey, reposition as a team to a different corner of the area, have all the flyers come to you from one area, and just try to deal with them. If things get really bad, you can run around a bit, but again, be cautious. If you just simply run around and you don't deal with the flyers whatsoever, you will get overwhelmed and most likely die before you get teleported out. But assuming you survive, you'll be teleported back to Zone 151. You can collect any resources in 151 or 150 that you left behind, as well as 149 actually. And once you have all your resources and you're good to go, you can head back into Zone 148, make your way to the security door to 152, as this has now been unlocked, and you can do the checkpoint scan that awaits you at the door. Once you finish the checkpoint scan, you can head into Zone 152. Inside of Zone 152, on the opposite end of the room that you came in from, you'll find a security door to Zone 153, and this is where you need to go to get your third and final data cube. However, the security door at 153 is on lockdown right now, and you need to go to the bottom of 152 and put a command into the terminal in order to unlock it. This command, though, is going to cause a new type of alarm to appear that makes its debut here and now. this alarm being a traveling scan, which does basically what it sounds like. A full team scan is going to appear. When you're inside of it, it is going to cause the scan to move, and it is going to go from the very bottom of the room all the way to the top. And while this alarm is going on, enemies like strikers, shooters, the occasional hybrid, as well as a few flyers are going to be spawning in. So you're going to want to make sure you set up before you put the command in, that way you do not get destroyed by these enemies. There are quite a few resources in this room, so use the terminal to figure out where they are, as it is a bit difficult to find them in this gigantic room. Heal people up as best you can, give them ammunition, make sure your sentries are loaded up as much as you can. If you've been playing well up to this point, you should have no issue to get every single one of your sentries up to 100%, but even if they're only around 80 to 90, it will still suffice and it'll make this a whole lot easier for you. Once all of your resources are distributed, you can go to the top of the room and then place your sentries down, sort of like you can see my group doing. Enemies will only ever spawn in that small room to the west out in 151, so we're going to place our burst sentry inside that room facing out, so it shoots enemies from behind, the auto sentry outside facing in to shoot them from the front, and then you can either place the sniper sentry facing towards the security door to 152 so it shoots enemies as they come into your room, or place it further behind the auto sentry facing towards that small room, that way it shoots enemies as they're coming out of it. If you took another burst sentry inside the sniper sentry though, you could place a second one right next to the first, or if you brought a mine deployer inside of a sniper sentry, shut that door, place a mine on the outside, that way it'll blow up enemies as they come in, and then just make a trail of mines leading into your room. Spread them out a little bit, that way one enemy doesn't set off multiple of them, but make sure that they're in an area where enemies will actually pass through them and it'll deal decent damage. These sentries though, even at 100% will not last throughout the entire alarm. They will last to about, I think, 80 to 85% or somewhere in that location, which is pretty good because it'll buy you a lot of time, but you will still have to shoot a fair amount towards the end of it. So once everything is good and everything is set up properly, go down, make sure everybody's at the bottom, put the command to the terminal, and then get to work on this traveling scan. Do your best to stay in it at all times, because the more you step out of it, the longer it's going to take, which means the more enemies might spawn in and the harder it's going to be for you. But also keep an eye out for enemies, because some enemies will make it through the sentries and you will have to deal with them. And when you get towards the top of it, again around like 80 to 85%, your sentries will run out of ammunition, and every enemy that comes through you are going to have to deal with. If you get to the point where the scan is about to go up a staircase or something, but enemies are coming down that staircase for you, fall back, step out of the scan, deal with the enemies first. The last thing you want to do is just walk through a giant horde of enemies just so you can stay in the scan. That will get you killed very quickly. Deal with the enemies first, and then get back in the scan and keep moving up and get it to the very top. Once it's at the top and it hits 100%, the scan will disappear. You'll only have to deal with the last few enemies that are still alive. And once everything is dead, you can rejoice and celebrate a bit, because you are basically done with this level. There are no more enemies from here to the very ending of it. All you need to do is go to the security door to 153, do a full team scan, head in, find the box or locker that has your third and final data cube, pick it up, it'll teleport you out to a new area you haven't seen yet, but no enemies will attack you. You'll just be out there for a little bit. If you look way off into the fog, you might see some gigantic creature that you may or may not recognize, but don't worry, it's not going to attack you or anything. This is sort of just to tease you for what might come in the future. And then after a little bit, you'll be teleported back into 153, the security door to 154 will unlock, you go over, do a full team scan, head on in, you'll find your extraction scan, and it is a silent extraction scan, so no enemies will spawn in during this. It'll go up very quickly, and once you get it all the way to 100%, you are done and you have beaten R6C1. And that's all there really is to it. Just like always, if you have any tips or tricks for this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you want to say, leave it down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then consider hitting that like button. It helps out the channel and it helps these videos get noticed by people who really need them. And while you're down there, you might as well hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. I also have my own Discord server, so if you want to go the extra mile and become part of the community I'm building, hop right on in. Link is down in the description. Also in the description, you can find a link that'll take you to the official GTFO merch store. So if you love this game and want to pick up some sweet GTFO merch, go take a look and see what they've got for you. Until next time, enjoy the final moments of 2021. 2022 is just around the corner, and I'll see you all in the next video.